Welcome to Wedding Pro Weekly. I'm Jason Groh. Our guest this week is DJ and mixing extraordinaire Berto Monestaro of Monestaro Entertainment. In our interview, we talked about his story, what makes a great DJ, and what brides need to look out for when they're choosing their DJ. And now, on with the podcast. All right, Jason Groh here with Wedding Pro Weekly. I have Berto Monestaro on the line from Monestaro Entertainment. Berto, how are you today, sir?
Very good. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
I am so glad you're with me today. So, Berto's been so kind to join us via phone today. He had another commitment this afternoon, but figured he could squeeze us in, so I definitely appreciate you taking the time to do that. So, let's get started with your story. So, you're a DJ. I mean, where did this all start for you? I mean, did you know, coming out of high school is what you wanted to do, or were you DJing like way back when you were like 11? I mean, how did this get started?
When I was 2 years old.
When you were 2?
No.
Right.
My family is very musically inclined. My mother used to sing with the Lyric Opera of Chicago in the 50s and 60s, and she taught vocal technique, operatic technique at Northwestern for about 40 years. I was classically trained. I played trumpet, French horn, I dabbled in piano, and I also sing. When I got to high school, I went to Loyola Academy. They had a very strong musical class there that really struck a chord with me, no pun intended. And I was kind of opened, my world was open to different instruments, including the turntables. I had a couple of friends that also dabbled in that, and a light bulb went off. So I was about 14 years old when I was introduced to turntablism, and inadvertently perfected the craft of mixing music together. By the time I was 17, I was doing parties, having fun, not really taking it too seriously. Then my mom did something funny. She signed me up for Loyola University, where I was attending that fall, for their radio station, WLUW 88.7 FM. At the time, it was called Energy 88.7 FM. It was a format similar to like B96, a dance format. So I was kind of familiar with what they were playing, and was a little nervous about stepping in there. But let me tell you, thank God she did that, because I not only got on the radio, we really excelled at that, and I got to meet pretty much the world of dance music via going to nightclubs and hosting parties, meeting up with all these big names at the time. My passion was Chicago house music. I just had such an affinity for that, because at that time that was what it was. I had kind of surrounded myself with people that had these similar likes, and thought to myself, my family owns an Italian restaurant and banquet. Why not parlay that style of, giving people a good time with music? Let's set some business plan up, and with my other co-hosts on that radio show, we set a business plan in motion, and that was 1994. So ever since then, I've had the pleasure of hiring a couple more people. There's 14 DJs altogether. We have just a great crew. We do about 300 weddings a year, and we get them tired at the end of the night. We incorporate the style of beat mixing music, no longer using turntables, because we have progressed from turntable to CD to computer, so it's a lot easier for us to maneuver. But mixing different genres together really strikes a chord with our clients. They see what we do at someone's wedding, at any given wedding, and they say, "Oh my gosh, that's something that we are really interested in," because everybody, all demographics, are pleased. So that's pretty much where we are at now. We enjoy doing many weddings, mostly in the downtown area, but some suburbs, and just love packing the dance floors and making people happy.
Yeah, and I gotta tell you, I mean, we've worked with you a number of times, and I could tell you,
Sure.
that, I mean, we refer you a lot. And one of the big reasons for that is because of not only your personality and how great you are to work with, but also the way that you do it. And I do wonder, I mean, does your music, do you feel as though your background in music has helped you? Because you said you had this, this big background, has helped you in the genre beat mixing, because it's something that's very specific to what you do. And it was one of the first things I noticed about you when we worked together. I was like, oh my God, he can go from Sinatra to Pitbull seamlessly.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny, and I find that still very challenging. We do everything live, and for example, this past weekend we had a wedding where the bride was Indian and the groom was Jewish, and I was mixing Bhangra, the Indian standard, into Jay-Z and Notorious B.I.G., like old school hip hop, and people really like that. They enjoy that aspect of mixing different genres together, and they talk, and then my clients are happy, and it just goes on. It just snowballs into something great. So coming from this background, I was always very, not sheltered, but don't listen to this music, it's the devil's music. And you can't say that to a teenage boy. You just, you can't do that. But ironically, I used to work in the nightclub industry downtown, and knowing that I would have to hear, club music for any given amount of time, 5 hours straight, I would find myself driving from the north side of Chicago into the city, listening to WFMT, which is the classical radio station, just to kind of calm my nerves, because that was what I was used to. I'm kind of familiar with the opera scene, if you will, inadvertently. I didn't, pursue it, but it was always around me, going to these concerts. So I really thank my mom, especially, for allowing me to be introduced to that style of music. And it has actually come full circle now, because my wife and I have two little girls, and I will have them listen to everything from Rigoletto to Michael Jackson to Daft Punk to, anything you can think of, disco, 60s. And it's quite entertaining to hear my 6-year-old say, "Hey, Daddy, that sounds like Daft Punk." I mean, what kind of 6-year-old says that sounds like Daft Punk? It's just very rewarding, because I think that music is just such an instrument, and it should be in everybody's lives. It affects so many people. So I'm really blessed to have the ability to bring that to people.
Yeah, I mean, and it is. It is. I mean, our household is very similar to that. I mean, we have a very eclectic taste in music, I would say, in that, or more of a wide range of music. I mean, I'll turn on everything from Andy Williams to Ariana Grande. I mean, it doesn't. Right. I mean, it doesn't. All music's kind of the same. I don't know if even my kids would even know the difference in genre. You know what I mean? It's just kind of it's just music. It's out there. You either like it or you don't. But it is what it is.
It's funny because I remember, and you probably remember, because we're the same age. Oh my gosh, this devil music. How can you listen to that? And now I hear myself saying oh, you don't want to listen to that because that's death metal. But at the same time, maybe they should hear it. Maybe they should see what the difference is, because if you shelter people from something, they're only going to move towards it more. So, with respect to that, I think everybody has the ability now that they didn't have 20 years ago because of, communication, because we have opened the lines for people to enjoy and experience different types of music. Absolutely.
It's so true. I had I was flipping through Sirius, on through the stations on Sirius, and I had the kids in the car. They have almost like a death metal station, And so I just wanted to see what their reaction would be. So I turned it on kind of as a joke, and my oldest daughter started cracking up. She's like, "Dad, what is this?" Oh, yeah. I said, "Hey," "there's a station for it because people enjoy it." I said, there are people out there who just absolutely love. There's an audience for it, And, I said, in the end, I mean, it's music. I mean, I think, Glenn Danzig at one time tried an opera career in his, youth or something like that. I mean, it's,
Right.
I mean, it's one of those things where music really does cross so many, genres, and is such a big part of our life. And even through music therapy and all these different, areas, it can affect so many things. It can affect your mood. It can affect how you get ready for a sporting event, how you get ready for your business day. I know even in my household, getting the kids up for school can be a little bit of a struggle. So I turn on some music, to get everybody up. And
do you throw on some death metal?
Yes, death metal. That will definitely, that'll wake them up. But I mean, just, a little bit of music just to get everybody up and moving in the morning. I mean, it's, it's such an important thing. Now, let me ask you, you made an interesting point saying that your family has this restaurant. Is it a banquet hall, or is it a
it's we have 4 banquet halls and a restaurant. We started as a pizza parlor in 1962, and my dad kept building up and up and up, and now my sister and my aunt and uncle and their daughter, they run it. So it's next generation. My uncle is semi-retired, but you can't keep an Italian out of the kitchen, so he's there, kind of directing to a certain degree. But we're very proud to say that we are a non-corporate, family-owned restaurant of more than 50 years in the city, and we're very proud of that. So again, that's another facet to, they used to put me on a chair and I would sing Italian songs when I was very young, when I was 3 years old. So I was exposed to audiences, and I enjoyed it. The performance aspect. A lot of people in our industry, need to be in front of an audience, and they're used to that. So I always say to prospects, oh my gosh, I want to learn to DJ. Well, are you comfortable in front of an audience? Because that is a huge part of what, encompasses our job. You have to be comfortable talking in front of an audience. You have to be comfortable directing basically the night. You have to tell other vendors, hey, in 5 minutes we're going to be doing the bride and groom's first dance, or we're going to cut their cake, or we're going to have the best man make a speech. Are you guys ready? So you have a lot more than just hitting the play button. And that sometimes it irks me a little, because people say, oh, is that all you do? That's all you do is just DJ. And they don't understand, the process. Just as you guys film something beautiful, and that's great. That's almost the easy part. It's the post-production that nobody, understands, that takes such a long time to perfect. So, when you have that ability to give somebody something, a finished product, yours being after the fact, mine being the night of, it's joyous. I mean, it's like a drug almost. It's really euphoric to see people dancing, to see people having a good time, to have a bride and groom, to have a corporate client come up and say, oh my gosh, you know what? I can't believe what just happened tonight. He has never experienced anything like that. That's such payment to me. So I'm very appreciative of, what we have to deal with on a weekend by weekend basis. It's always something different.
Yes, and photographers and videographers are all jealous of you, because you get all the attention of the night, and then you get to go home, and you don't have to do a damn thing until after the wedding. I mean, you have all the pre-prep. I understand that, but after the wedding, you don't have to do anything. So
you know what? You're right. I'm actually going to agree with you, because it is. But I do appreciate what you guys do. It is a hard thing to do to bring about the hours that consume your day putting together a final product. But isn't it nice when you give that final product and the people watch it, and then they get back to you and they're like, holy cow.
That's why we do it. It's literally the only reason we're still in this business. Because, I mean, it is the thing that keeps you going. I mean, in the end. I mean, because there's so much, how weddings are. I mean, there's so much you have to do. Absolutely. There's so many things you have to go through. You're dealing with people who are in a high anxiety, and sometimes, and in most cases, are kind of in a sort of a high anxiety state. I mean, it's none of it really has to do with you. Yet at the same time, you're privy to it because you're there.
That's
You know,
right.
you're a part of this whole thing, and
Yep.
these people are all weddings are one of those things that, I mean, even unless there's like a coordinator, and sometimes even if there is a coordinator, weddings are asking everyday people who don't do big event planning or a lot of event planning to do event planning, and it's daunting, especially for someone who, people go into it, they're like, where do I even start? And so and with the vendors and everything, it is a part of this business. Over the years, I've seen, and I'm sure maybe you have too, seen businesses come in and out because people cannot handle. And it's not the DJing, it's not the photography, it's not the videography, it's the business. They can't handle the business that they're in because it's just, it's too much for some people.
Very high pressure, very high pressure, because any little thing you are responsible for, especially with the wedding business, you're responsible to give 100%. If there's any little mistake, this is someone's wedding. This is a life moment that won't happen again for, in this capacity usually.
Right.
And you want to make it perfect. So, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
It really is.
Agreed.
So, all right. So back to the restaurant thing again. And so now, all right. So, your folks have the restaurant. So now at this point, it sounds like you're doing some radio work, doing some club work, and then you essentially went back then to. Did you go back to your like family and say, hey, can I maybe do some stuff here, or how would you feel about having me, do some DJing?
Oh,
work?
absolutely.
Yeah.
In the end, and it's something that I always think about. What am I going to do after I'm done DJing? And I love a great party. Until I don't feel that way, I'm going to keep doing this. But maybe in the future, I used to work full time at the restaurant right after college, and it was great. It was taxing, but it was great. It's funny that you say that. My dad always used to say to me, you do not want to be in this business. And I remember, growing up, I saw my dad on Mondays. That's when I saw him, because our restaurant was closed on Mondays. We'd have family dinner with, his brother, who was co-owner of the restaurant. And that was it. So the restaurant business in itself is very tough. 14, 15-hour days of just, hands-on work. If a chef doesn't show up, you're the chef that day. If the maitre d' is sick, you're the maitre d' that day. You got to pay the bills. You got to do all the O&M. So I appreciate that hard work, being raised in that, environment. It really kind of sculpted how I run my business. So in the future, if it is the case where I go back to the restaurant, maybe. We'll see. We just we have a good thing going right now, and I'm going to stick to it as long as I possibly can. So, yep.
That's great. All right, so let's talk about brides, and I mean, now, if you're a bride and you're out there, or a groom, or a mother, or somebody who's trying to plan a wedding for somebody else, and you're looking at a DJ, what is the if you could pinpoint down to the number one thing that these people should be looking for? And because we have listeners, they're from all across the country. They may not be in the area, but as they're looking around, they're trying to find somebody good to go with. What is the number one thing that you would look for, or maybe top three things? If you can.
Sure. I think one of the things is personality. You need to have somebody that is charismatic. You need to have someone that understands demographics, ages, not just playing to one particular demographic, because that can be disastrous. Another thing that you have to really kind of weed out is personality and price do not go hand in hand. You can get a $500 DJ on Craigslist, and maybe he'll show up, or maybe he won't have equipment that is conducive to a successful night. You have 400 people and you want to skimp off on music. I think that music and the food aspect are very important, if not the most important. The venue, wonderful, and the data, obviously, but the success of the night is contingent on the music end of things. So, if that's what you're looking for, if you really want to have a successful night, the people that have the references, that have reviews that are positive, go with them. The other thing that I see a lot of is social media is wonderful. You can have a great website. You can have, videos of you doing your thing. But the number one thing that will get you that job is reference. My sister had you at her wedding, or my best friends attended a wedding. My mom was at a wedding, and she thought of all different kinds of music that you were blending and was like, oh my gosh, we've never been to a wedding like that. So that is extremely important, to have somebody that can see all the facets that go in, that attended something that we had provided music for, and to make a decision based on that. Many people see it as an economic, ordeal. It doesn't have to be that way. You really don't have to, sweat over working a budget out. You obviously want to pick the right dates. If you have more funds than not, then you're going to be in high season, which encompasses May through basically November, December for us. If you don't, then January, February, March, and April. There's always a way out as far as having a successful event. Another thing and this is something nobody talks about, and it might sound trite, but it encompasses, DJs, bands, especially photographers and videographers, and I know this is going to sound funny, but feed your vendors. If you skimp off on feeding your vendors, if you wait till all the guests are fed, and your photographers, for example, have 3 minutes to scarf down their food, or your videographers, and they have to set their equipment up for your first dance, which is going to happen at the end of dinner, you will not get as good of a product. Your photographers and videographers have been with you the whole day. They probably could use something good to nourish themselves back to normalcy. It's just very important. I see that a lot, where they treat the vendors almost second class, and almost in a punishing way, and it just really rubs me the wrong way. Everybody's there to do their job. Everybody wants to do better than what the next guy is doing. If you feed your vendors, you will get a better product. So that's another important aspect. Third, if you can afford it, do it. If you can't afford it, don't do it. You will see that at the end of the day, if you make your guests happy in any capacity, you're going to enjoy yourself. If you do too many things, I have a certain bride that had 8 speeches, and then she wanted to show a slideshow, and then she had somebody play guitar for her, and then she had somebody juggle fire for her. Well, maybe not juggle fire, but you get the point. Too many things going on in the night. Less is more. And if I could hit that home for all of my clients and tell them that less is more, they would have that much better of a time. So that's pretty much my thoughts, the major thoughts that I have on the success of a night.
Those are perfect. I agree with you on all of them, especially, a couple of the points you made. To expand upon that, treating your vendors well. I'll never forget a situation. It's amazing how people get so wrapped up, or maybe just so nervous that they, or maybe they put themselves sort of as the center point of the day, which they are. But they get maybe a little bit too wrapped up in that. I had a situation once where I was on a wedding, and when we do the preparations with the bride, we step out so that way she can get dressed. And
right.
I stepped out and I said, I'm going to be right outside this door. Just let me know when you're ready. And I, just tap, and they had a female photographer in there, so she stayed in. That's pretty customary. And then the videographer
Sure.
will step out. And
Right.
so I just said, hey, someone can just grab me when she's about to get zipped up, and I'll come back in and we'll film that part. So I was just standing literally right outside the door, and it was taking a little while, but I thought, okay, well, maybe she's just taking a while. And I get a text, and the text message is, where are you? Get in here right now. And I'm literally on the other side of the door. I'm on the other side of the door. And I'm like, and I walked in, I said, I didn't want to make a big point of it. I just kind of blew it off. Of course, internally, I'm like a volcano, but
Sure.
I walk in and I'm like, hey, I was just outside of the door. I asked if someone could let me know, but I go, you guys probably got a little busy. So, I kind of just brushed it off. But,
oh, yeah.
But, I guess it's the cardinal rule, treat others the way you want to be treated. And, it's not, it's not rocket science, it's just how life is. And, you get what you
give.
Yeah,
we are hired help, but that doesn't mean that, it's up to you. If you want a good product, have good rapport with people. But that goes across all lines. I can't stress to you enough. A lot of downtown venues do not feel the same way I do. I used to be part of a catering club. A lot of catering managers would get together, and I remember having this discussion panel where they invited a couple wedding planners, they invited a couple catering managers from very high-end hotels, some caterers, and I was on there, and they were talking about what makes a wedding. What is the success of a wedding? How do you determine that? And it was funny because not one of them said the vendors should be taken care of, and it just it works wonders when you work well with people. So that's a very important skipped point that a lot of our clients need to kind of be reminded. Now, there are certain vendors that have in their contracts, I must be served a hot meal for, if I am to play 8 hours, I must be served a hot meal and not a cold sandwich. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. I mean, again, we are there to work. We're not there to eat. But at the same time, it's nice to have just anything. To be fed is very important. And that's all I have to say about being fed. So, with respect to any other facets of the wedding business, it's just be treated well and give your best. If you don't feel like you can give 110%, you will not make it in the downtown wedding market. You just won't, because they are looking for diehard people that know what it takes for the success of a night.
Yeah, I agree. And one other point I want to expand upon too that you mentioned that was so beautifully, and that is keeping things on time and letting people know when things are about to happen, when events are about to happen. It's so important. You do such a great job with that. And it is so, because it is one of those things that it's so important. And I don't think people, couples don't understand because they don't see the behind the scenes. They just have the night go on and whatever. But there is nothing worse than when you go to sit down to eat, you finally get that moment where you can sit down, you can have a meal, and then all of a sudden you sit down, you go to pick up your fork, the food's about to enter your mouth, and you hear, ladies and gentlemen, Joe Schmo is about to give the best man speech, and all of a sudden you're scrambling all the way over to, and it is ready. Right. And because you're not ready, the photographers are all scrambling. Everybody's scrambling, trying to get over there. Then, you got to power up. So that takes a moment. So now you might be missing the first, now granted, as an editor, you could probably clip out the, hey, thanks for having me come here, or whatever. But at the same time, I mean, you're, it's like anything, like when you're a little late to something and you're getting in the room and you're trying to get yourself organized, it's one of those things where you want to be in position and ready to go. And it's, and not knowing it's such a big deal. And DJs have, they play such a big part in that. And, so it is one of those things where it is
immense
so
responsibility. Absolutely. And if you are going to need a smoke break, or if you're going to have to take a phone call, again, I've had to work with vendors like that. They're going to miss out. But for the most part, I would say a very high percentage of people are there to work, are there to give a fantastic product to their clients. And I solely attribute that to the reason that they work every weekend. There are videographers, there are photographers, there are DJs that do not work every weekend. They could work every weekend. They have an excuse, it's the off season, nobody gets married in January. I think that's a load of baloney. I think if you are good at what you do and you provide superior performance or a product, an after product, you will work every weekend. And that's going out to all the people that are not brides and grooms on the service end of things. One more quick thing I just thought about. A lot of our clients say, we want to extend the night. We want to play an extra hour. That is like probably one of the worst things that you can do. More, again, is not more. More is less. After 2.5 hours of dancing, and this is continuous dancing, I would say 95% of the 3 hours that we allot, 2.5 to 3 hours that we allot for dancing, is upbeat music, and 5% is a slow song. People get tired. They will remember the last part of the night, those that stay. They will remember the last part of the night sitting around because they are tired. And I almost feel guilty charging people, for that extra hour as people are, kind of sitting around. So I really make it a point, 2.5 hours, you will have an unforgettable dance set and you'll have an unforgettable wedding. People will leave tired and good, and that's what you want. I find it kind of funny, some of the venues, they actually get mad at us because people stay. If we do 6:30 to midnight, that's pretty much, 1 hour cocktails, hour and a half of dinner, and 3 hours of dancing. At midnight, and they have 250 people there and 200 are left, and they have to get these people out of their venues so they can close up. They look to us and say, what did you do? And I say, you know what? This is the only time that all of these people are ever going to be in the same room together. And let them have their fun. They paid for it. Let them commiserate afterwards. Let them, soak it in, because it was an event. It wasn't just a wedding, whatever. It was an event, and it brought all these people together. So with that, I wrap it up. I mean, I gave you everything I got, baby.
That is a great place to end. Berto Monestaro Entertainment is his company. If you get a chance, where can they find you online? It's just my name. It's www.roberto, R-O-B-E-R-T-O. Monestaro is M-O-N as in Nancy, A, S as in Sam, T-E-R-O.com. RobertoMonestaro.com. Berto Monestaro. Referred often by myself, one of the best in the biz. Make sure to check him out. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Jason. You guys take care, and we'll talk to you soon. Be well.
Well, that's going to do it for Wedding Pro Weekly. Also, don't forget to love us on SoundCloud, like us on Facebook, and review us on iTunes. For Wedding Pro Weekly, I'm Jason Groh. We'll see you next time.